Yeah, everyone, this is Thermite, and this is Battle Angel Alita Mars Chronicle, Volume 4. On the cover, we have got Erica, we've got Yoko, and we have Baron Muster. Very obvious cover, I suppose. And also this, like right here, very plain as well. Like the other covers have all had, I guess not like in a degree of abstraction. Like this is also obviously abstract. It's not like Muster's going to have a giant head, but, you know, they've all been sort of more vague as to what the cover could possibly mean when you first look at it. And then as you read the volume, it's more clearly explains. And then these have all been like shots of the environment. Like we've had this very consistent theme of this is what the volume kind of is about. Here's a little teaser. And then here is a place in the volume. Whereas with volume 4, like this feels very obvious. It's Erica on some level has to save Yoko. And then over here, it's just the Kane writing out the full code. I'm not going to try to even begin to decipher the code. Like, I'm bad when it comes to code work in general, but especially with this. I imagine Yukito Kishiro probably put a lot of a lot of effort into making it a really weird, interesting code that you can decode. I just don't think that I personally can / I don't think it's like worth the efforts for the amount of like entertainment I'll get out of it. So last volume, I probably should actually say at the very end of the last volume, we got what was the specific phrasing? Why it's almost like a real human toddler. So we're aware that Baron Muster is like he knows about Yoko to some extent. There is something clearly weird about Yoko. I mean, this could just be referring to her cyborg body, but it doesn't seem like it. Like the way this is being built up makes it feel like no, there is another secret that, like, the very origin of her birth. Which, man, Alita's had so many secrets, and they're always secrets looking back on them. Like even here, during her, like presumably, this is sort of the prequel. This is supposed to be her backstory, and yet even in her backstory, she has a mysterious, unexplained past. Like, oh boy. That said, um, that's kind of where we left it off. Yoko is still at the Duke's mansion. So if Erica is going to save her, either she needs to physically go there, or it has to be more of a metaphorical, she'll do something here that ends up protecting Yoko in some way. That said, it's not like Baron Muster is presenting like a clear threat to her. Like he's a general villain here, but it's not like he's trying to kill Yoko. Like if anything, it's the Duke that is potentially going to harm Yoko. Maybe we don't even know. Honestly, we don't know. We really don't. So there's not a whole lot I can speculate on. All right, yeah. Do you want to know? Also, is this Earth or Mars? Ah, okay, it's Mars. There's more to Yoko than you realize. A certain secret about her birth. Well then, I mean, like, I guess I'm gonna have to eat my words because the cover did, present Muster as a villain. But the more I've been talking about it, the more I realized, well, he kind of can't be. Like, he might have a secret that is inconvenient for Yoko, but it's clearly in his best interest to keep Yoko alive. And this page really confirms it. In the end, he might be the reason why Yoko exists, why she ends up becoming Alita, why she has a future. I could see that being a real possibility. Because none of the other covers have been like a lie per se. They've all been things that have happened, but we haven't really seen them. Like they're not necessarily literal in terms of if they happened or not. I do feel like this has to involve like Muster or possessing like being some sort of direct antagonist to Alita's future and Erica protecting her then. Okay, so we're cutting away. Man, Damjon has a bad lot in life. Like, even though the two of them are working together at the same time, he really is her slave. Oh, is this the rock serum? God, I love whenever we get pseudoscience in Alita. It's always so interesting because like I can never tell what parts of them are based in real world science and which parts aren't. Like I enjoy science quite a bit, but usually they end up like Kishiro manages to touch on a lot of topics that I've never once considered / like heard about. So like I don't know where the falsehood here begins, like where the truth ends, if there is any truth in this at all. I have no idea. I mean, based on this, like I feel like this has to be a wholly fictitious mineral. Okay. I mean, We do have the ongoing plot line of Damjan having this like poison in his system that can crystallize him at any point. So I assume she's trying to look for some sort of cure then. Like, how do you kill someone with it? And then how do you unkill someone with it? Like how do you stop yourself from being killed if you accidentally take a dose? That does make sense too. Like, if it is more of a sand than anything. Oh boy, okay. mm, dude. Like, I guess it's not that weird. If you work with poison for a living, I guess you do have to get used to the fact that you will be talking about poison and someone else will be preparing food or drink for you. But in terms of a story setup, like, he's clearly being poisoned. I don't know, like, if I were a poison specialist, I don't know if I would eat at all. I feel like I'd go home and then only drink out of closed cans or something. I do like how passionate he is about it and how varied Krista Morton is. Like it makes total sense why Baron Mustard would have it, as his signature thing because it is extremely versatile. It's not like he has to go out of his way to use this as a dangerous weapon. Like it is inherently very dangerous and very versatile. By the way, do people put jam in their tea? Like I feel like I know quite a bit about tea, but I've never put jam in my tea. I'm not going to go on a crazy tangent with this, but I will after I'm done recording. I am genuinely really curious about that. I've never heard of it before. Yep, he's dead. It's not really this that I'm shocked by, because, I mean, I called it. But it's this. The fact that she's, like, panting over it. And it doesn't look like it's nervous panting. Like, especially the shape of her eyes here, and, like, the little blush here. Like, there are certain things that you would do as mangaka to show that she's actually scared. But this does not look like fear at all. It looks like she is just, she's thrilled that she is still like, riding the high of, oh boy, I did that. And I mean, like the laughter especially. But you could take laughter as either being, laughter of relief or genuine happy laughter. And I think this is genuine happy laughter then. Like it is consistent with what we've seen of Erica thus far. And of course, she immediately reported it, and because she's a small child, no one would suspect anything else. And of course, this is such a cool dynamic. I mean, I guess Mustard doesn't really need Dr. Chimoy at all now. Like, assuming he has a way to create, the poison by itself, he doesn't really need anything else. He was paying the doctor just to, like, basically just to make a more translucent version, which wasn't that useful. Like, it would have been cool to be able to turn people into glass or, like semi-transparent glass, but it's not necessary. It's not that much of an improvement, so he was disposable. I suppose the big question is just like, why did he get killed? Like, is their plan just to is it just to weaken Mustard's force, like Mustard's overall capabilities, or was she supposed to be finding the cure as well? Like, I guess the cure thing is something I personally thought of. I shouldn't try to apply it to the series. Like, the series never hinted at that. That was wholly my personal bias. And why specifically is Erica coming, actually? That's extra weird. Okay, there's a job going on out there, and we want you to see it. Like, we know he's rich. We know he's, looking for the eternal life thing. He could be trying to find that, but it seems like he really needs the answer to the riddle, or the code, to do any progress on that. So this is most likely just another, like, what could this be? Oh boy, what the fuck? If we're going, last volume, I was really playing up the similarity sort of between Yoko's backstory and Erica's, or I guess Alita's backstory and Erica's. The idea being that everything Alita did is just like Erica did it first. Like this has way more parallels to the first few volumes of Alita in this weird twisted way than anything else. And I guess you could take this as sort of an analog for the scrapyard then. Like the first time she like not when she was found in it, but like afterwards when she would go out and look at it. Yeah. Also, I couldn't tell if these were supposed to be like stone solid or just like dead and preserved by the fact that there's no atmosphere. God, she has zero chill whatsoever. Huh. Why would he have, like, is he just disposing of the bodies then? Like, what are they doing with them specifically? It's not even like the scrapyard where, they're all cyborgs, therefore you can take them apart and get stuff from them. These are human bodies that are most likely preserved because, there's no bacteria that can decompose them, but they're also pretty destroyed, I'd assume. After being stripped of their clothes, the bodies are solidified with crystal morton, run through a compactor, and purified in centrifuge. For what purpose? So, this method of recycling the dead is perfectly legal, implying that people know that he has crystal morton then. I guess it is like a serial killer who has a factory that uses lime and that also uses lime to decompose bodies. Like, you can use the substance to kill, but just because you do doesn't mean you can't also use it for legal purposes. And it also doesn't mean that people would suspect you for using it like for illegal purposes just because you have a lot of it. Oh, the idea of using human bodies just to make bricks though is real weird. Partially because it makes sense on Mars because they wouldn't have like materials that you would use to properly build buildings. Like, or actually, I don't know. I don't know what the like what mines on Mars would mine. I've been thinking about it just in terms of like like Jupiter from Gundam, where they had to make everything. Where like they couldn't just go out and get natural resources. Everything they had was something they had to make. And I kind of assumed the same was with like it was the same with Mars, but that's not necessarily the case, right? So I guess the dead body bricks might just be more economical? And thus, without realizing the people of Mars are all living in houses built on human bricks. So, without realizing it, but it is legal. I mean, I guess if it's like a government contract and the government knows that he's doing this, but then it's not like a widely known like public thing, then I guess that's so weird to think of though. Because that like what part of this chain knows about the fact that he's recycling the data? That's the main thing. Because like if in modern day like America or Canada or whatever, if we learned that bricks were made with human bodies, if we learned that was a thing that companies were doing for like the longest time and just they never told us, that would be severely messed up. Like that would cause a massive scandal. I can't imagine a government that would be like, yeah, sure, we'll hide that, unless it was truly necessary. And I don't see the point in which like where this is necessary. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially since you're taking like organic matter, which should be really important on Mars, like and turning it into inorganic matter in order to make houses. Like it feels like the opposite should be what they're trying to do, right? Like they should be trying to keep all the biological matter they have in order to grow more crops slash create more food. Like that's the kind of thing that's a lot more difficult to do as opposed to just mining more and making like bricks made out of actual stone. It is an extremely devilish thing to do though. Like I'm not going to try and downplay that. In that moment, Erica had an epiphany. She finally understood what merciless meant. Together with the panorama before her eyes, she accepted this moment without emotion. That is, I don't know how any child would be able to process that, or like, I feel like that's the kind of thing your mind would shut out, or your mind would just go like, I'm not going to think about that too hard. It's happening, but I'm not going to absorb too much of it because it's so big. Like it's such a big thing to think about. But I mean, Erica's pretty wise for her age. I think she understands this. It's probably part of the reason why she's cracking so much. Like the fact that she is so mature for her age, that she's had to take on so many like not for children concepts, so many adult concepts at such a young age. Like I understand fully why it is that she's, she's a little abnormal. Okay. Okay, so we're getting back into this. It's the story of the Altnoy and the 9 fairy tale kings. Their legacy is the secret treasure of Mars, and its mystery is about to be revealed. Oh boy, let's see. Also, I mean, I guess it is a slightly different angle than the color page at the very start, but it is again very strange that this is essentially the same image. Like it's the same thing, quote unquote. That's so unlike the other volumes thus far. Okay, so lots of commas, lots of male signs. Wait, were the commas here? Yeah, they were. Okay. Also, this symbol. I feel like I've seen the symbol before, but I don't know what it is. I don't think it's German. Like, I was gonna say it's kind of it's sort of like the Esset, sort of, but not really. Like, it's not the same shape. It just reminds me of that because it looks sort of like a double S. Which, to be fair, the Esset doesn't really look like a double S. There's not even like a ton of like recurring letters that are very easy to note because of that. Huh. Okay, the part surrounded by symbols at the beginning is likely meant to be numerals, but as for the rest. Okay, and Erica's already figured it out. Okay, male 70, 12, 57. I mean, it's also the symbol for Mars, I believe, right? Like, that makes way more sense than just the male symbol. They just typed the numbers on a keyboard but shifted over. Okay. There are 3 instances of Z in the code. This can't be. Oh, yeah, it can't. Z is all the way down here. Oh, that's cool. So they use the quartz design as opposed to the QWERTY. Also, to be fair, I don't really know a lot about like German like keyboard layouts in general. Do you have like separate keys just for like the umlauted versions of letters? Because I always kind of assumed that you'd use like a dedicated shift tab or something in order to use those. Or not shift, because that would be obviously capitals and commons, but something else. I guess it also makes sense to use just a dedicated thing. Hey, the asset's here too. That's a weird place to put it though, like just with the numbers. Like that's where my dash is. Huh. It's a strange layout. Also, wait a minute, where's the backspace here? Is this one of those keyboards where the backspace is like just one tiny thing as opposed to two? Not sure if I'm okay with this layout. Also, it is very telling that over the course of hundreds of years, like the death of civilization and the rebirth of it, throughout all that time, we've still used essentially a variant of QWERTY, as opposed to any of the like really fast typing ones like Dvorak. That's not sure how I feel about that. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because if we go back, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because it's 3 things and then N for north, and then do west. But then what are these? What I don't understand are the numbers and the S symbols. This is the section symbol as often seen in legal docs. I don't think I've ever heard about that. I'm sure I've seen that symbol before, but I also the way they're solving this is it's a bit truncated. It feels a little weird. It feels like they're doing a lot of leaps. Though I guess Erica and Damjan did like spend some time on this and we just didn't see it. Perhaps. No, because it just wrote it out. Actually, no. Because he did say that they've tried changing the direction of electrical currents, so they must have had some time to look at it as they tried to write it out a couple other times. God, Erica's expression is so filled with like not just rage, but specifically childlike rage. It is, oh boy, especially with how square her head is compared to like anyone else's. God, the character designs in Mars Chronicle are great. That's such a weird thing to note specifically, but just these 2 pages and like looking at the different head shapes really like it shows me how not wacky, but how varied the head designs in the series are. Which is something I don't really think of when I think of a more realistic, for lack of a better term, series. Like, not in the sense that Alita is realistic, but in the sense that the character designs that don't involve in any other sci-fi series, I would expect the character designs to be more down to earth, except for the cyborgs. But Alita's never really had that going on. It's always had very like quirky, like gag-like, for lack of a better word, character designs. They've all been very like manga-esque. They've all been kind of cartoony, and I really do appreciate that. It makes everyone much easier to remember, and it makes them a lot more expressive too. This is a strange ship. I don't know if Damjan really likes her or not. Like, it feels like he does, but at the same time, he kind of is forced to. I don't really know what his true feelings are at all. I mean, there is the possibility of, like, either Muster, like, finishes his revenge and then just dies, or he doesn't finish his revenge and he also dies. Like, that has been a constant thread. Like, he is dying. So the fact that he's able to handle something like Erica, the fact that he knows that members of his crew are going to try and backstab him, and he's still putting on this show of being powerful, which I guess he has to do now that I think about it. Like, it's impressive that he's able to do it, but at the same time, he really can't stop. The moment he shows his weakness is the moment he gets toppled. I mean, we're doing it. It feels very fast, but at the same time, like, this is not the main plot of Last Order, or I keep on saying Last Order, of Mars Chronicle. Like, this is a side plot. It is something that can be resolved relatively quickly without it, like, affecting the overall plots. Just the setup of it feels like it's, it could be an entire manga of its own, and we're just kind of, we're stepping in near the end. Okay, a week passed without any discoveries. In which case, we have to assume it's not like a physical thing, where the eagle pecks at the eye of the skull. So, what could it be? That it brings to mind like constellations, maybe? Like, if you can look up at the sky and see the eagle pecking at the eye of the skull, or like something like the sunrise or the sunsets creating the image of an eagle pecking at the eye of a skull. And they definitely didn't interpret it wrong. Like, it's so specific. This, I mean, it's bad because they're in the way of it, but it could be good. Maybe it'll kick up something that's been hidden. Maybe the Jinn of Mars are furious. Like, again, we don't know how much of the mythology in the series is like how much of it was invented, how much of it is actual mythology that was built up over time, especially since people haven't been on Mars for that long. Are the Haboob supposed to be like, is this what people meant when they said Jinn? Or is she just like misinterpreting it? Okay, well then. The goddess of fate is making her will known. There shall be no retreat from her clutches until we find the treasure. I can understand that. Like, it does feel like a sign. Like, well, there's no running away now. All we can do to survive is to find it. Okay, cutting back to Yoko. Oh my gosh, she looks so different. Like, of all the Yoko designs we've seen thus far, this is honestly the weirdest one. Like, she's got sort of the hairstyle of future Erica slash kind of future Alita base. Kinda, not really. It's closer to Erica than Alita, actually. But like, she's wearing nice clothing. She still has the scarf on, like the one that Erica gave her. But apart from that, like, she's almost impossible to like. It's hard to see her as the same person. She doesn't look like the same at all. Wait a minute. Is she reading her Metamorphosis? Yeah, it is by Franz Kafka. What? Why would you read a small child Kafka? Is there like a Battle Angel Alita out of context blog? Or a Gundam out of context blog? Because this feels like some primo Gundam out of context. I mean, if something bad is going to happen to her, then I can see why. Like, why she'd be distraught over it. Like, oh, this kid's so cute, but we're gonna have to do something real bad to her. Okay, this is a fantastic panel. Like, these are some prime mom antics, which is so weird. Like, we've seen we've seen a few father figures throughout the entirety of Gundam. We've seen very few mom figures, especially someone like this. Like, oh boy. Also, completely unrelated, but I just heard the ice cream truck. It's the first time in like 6 months, I'd say, since I've heard that. Oh boy. Not gonna run out though. Got Alita to read. Okay, so, well, he's a lot less tactful when it comes to her. Like, she did outright say that, or he outright said that he doesn't see her as a human. Like, she is an imitation of a human. I can definitely see her being the reason why Yoko ends up leaving, or like the person who facilitates her escape at some points. Like, it does seem like she does genuinely care for her. That's, yeah. Like, there is like a bunch of machinery up here, but it doesn't look like she's connected to any of it. Oh, never mind. I just saw the wires here. So she's got glowing eyes. She's got like, I assume that's hair and not like tentacles. Is the reason why Yoko has read the Metamorphosis because of this? Like, is she actually not turning into a monster or like a bug, but is she mutating? Perhaps we know that mutants exist. So, is that could be a possibility? Your sheephawk's Porwit is gone. No one will protect you now. I assume that was her, like, the person that used to attend to her. Okay, what the hell is that? Oh my god, their faces! Their faces! Holy shit. Okay, so she has, I forgot the precise term, but the same condition that Muster has. It looks a lot worse, though. Like, his, at the very least, is just turning parts of her body, or parts of his body, into faces. This looks like it is fundamentally altering the shape of her body. Huh. What in the hell? And she grasped Yoko for some reason. So why would she want Yoko? Like, is she the child of Lady Kagura, perhaps? Something like, if I were to die, she would then get this, she would get the throne unless she's killed beforehand or something. You are going to be the next Lady of Sidonia. Okay, never mind. Maybe it's just that, because of her blood, she would inherit it no matter what. And now that she's a Dornberg, she will inherit it, and that'll bring him closer to the throne. The Ethnarch of Sidonia, Odionbach. What's an Ethnarch? It automatically brings to mind like ethnicity and monarch, maybe political leadership over a common ethnic group or homogenous kingdom. I mean, it's clearly like robotic. So, is it supposed to be like the controller of all cyborgs? Maybe because it's not like. I guess we haven't seen enough people for me to confirm whether they're all one race or not. Like Yoko, especially, sounds like a Japanese name or like an Asian name in general. Whereas everyone else seems like so it can't be one ethnicity, right? Especially if Alita is related to them somehow. So maybe it is meant to be more of a like a cyborg is as an ethnicity or something. And yeah, like it's too consistent, especially since they had to go through so many steps to decode it. Like after that many steps to get something that makes sense is extremely crazy. To have it to be something completely like accidentally sensical is even more crazy. This book is not made of paper, but specially treated animal protein, and most likely human skin. I do really like his perspective here, though. Like, they tried so long to figure out the golden cane, and then Erica just did it instantly because she looked at it with fresh eyes. So it most likely isn't something super complex. That said, the decoding process was extremely complicated. I think he's on this plot, like, he's thinking about it in this direction because it's the best solution. Like, if it is something extremely difficult, then they're fucked. Like, they just are straight fucked. But if it is something that is as simple as just a change in perspective, that's much more possible. It's just they have to click, they have to figure it out. Okay. I just noticed this isn't at all like the storybook. Good night. But yeah. Okay. Okay. That does make so much sense. Like, again, it's a weird place for them to be digging, but that's because their coordinates are different. Okay. That is a pretty cool twist. Like it's not even something that was part of the riddle. It's just, well, we messed up. We are using a different standard. Also, I do appreciate that it wasn't like they immediately rushed there. They did spend 16 days like waiting until they could get there. That's really unlike like it's unlike the spirit of what Custer was trying to do. Or Muster, sorry. Like his whole thing was we are definitely here. We just need to figure out how to do it. And then the solution was, well, no, we aren't here. This is the wrong area entirely. We just have to wait and then go over there. Okay, how do we solve this? Maybe including the shadow. Because it looks sort of like a centaur here, but not, that's on an eagle or a skull. Okay, that's extremely simple. Where the eagle pecks at the eye of the skull. Offering up the dancing cane. Alright, let's see this. What is this? Like, is it as simple as that? Do they just have like a little table that has the potion of immortality on it? Not quite that simple, I guess. Oh boy. Well, I guess he outlived his usefulness. Ah, rip Dr. Hisham. I mean, he wasn't that useful, to be fair. Alright, the treasure of Mars. Let's get it. Let's see how it is. Let's see if they can do it in this volume. Like, because they've drawn out this much, there's no reason why they can't. Especially since, again, this is not the main focus of Mars Chronicle. But at the same time, I feel like this is a bit too simple. Oh boy, okay. Well, it's a maze, and it does. I mean, I guess they could grapple up to the top and then look around, but that might be just sort of a waste of resources. That is true, though. I do appreciate that. I appreciate that he is an evil overlord in a sense, but at the same time, he wants to do everything himself. Like, that's the point. It's not fun if he doesn't do it himself. Like, it's just then it's like, oh, well, I had someone else do all of this, and then I sat back and enjoyed it. Place an indicator on the wall and proceed left. If you reach branch you visited previously, tree has a dead end, turn around. If you read an actual dead end, return to the last branch. I do appreciate that. Like, despite bringing up the fact that, yeah, in other mazes, like, it is not, it might not always work. Actually, I guess that's not true. Like, this is not Tremo's algorithm. This is. And this, presumably, I mean, I haven't tested it. I just learned about it. I knew about the left-hand method, but I hadn't learned about this. I assume this is, like, it is flawless, then. See, this is a bit tricky, though. Like, maybe it'll work, but maybe it'll just eat it. Okay. The letters are straight up coming off. That's interesting. That is so weirdly elaborate. It does explain why it had to be, like, on such weird material, though. Okay, I mean, if you're gonna make your move, now's the time. He could shoot it, and that could destroy it. Like, he's finally got leverage. Ah. And yeah, I figured this would happen. Like, Damjan was nice to her, but at the same time, he had no choice. So I completely understand why it is that he's backstabbing her. Like, they never worked out an agreement of I'm completely happy being your slave for this amount of time. It was just, well, I've got to do what I've got to do, or I'll just straight up die. I can get it though. Like, even though she was very clearly taking advantage of him. At the same time, like from the perspective of a child, I can see how you could, take advantage of someone like that and still expect them to be completely happy with it and to be like, yeah, it's all in good fun. That's fine. Oh boy, so that's going a bit far. Don't rape someone before we kill them. But okay, so then what the hell is his motive? I mean, maybe just immortality, but this is an extremely long con then. I completely believe that the lever thing was accurate. God damn. That's one hell of a jump scare phase. Fuck. He's not holding back. I mean, I can accept it again, like he's not right. I think he's a reprehensible human being, but at the same time, like after dealing with that for all that time and also putting on a brave, not even a brave face, a happy face for all of it, I can see why he would want to unload. Like, reading this is starting to make me slightly vomit, but at the same time, like, I get it. I do empathize with his perspective here. And there is, like, a very slight catharsis, like, a second sort of secondhand catharsis. I can feel him finally, being able to relax because he's letting loose, because he doesn't have to play the fool, he doesn't have to play the slave anymore. But at the same time, I feel like he's gonna die. Now he'll die for the sake of my mental health. I mean, we still haven't seen the cure, but the way he's acting, especially since part of his mission was to find a cure, I assume he must have found one then? Maybe? You've been drinking water laced with crystal Morton this entire time. Well, I mean, I doubt it. Oh my god, I just realized. Holy shit, I just realized. When Erica was drinking it, she mentioned outright, oh, it tastes gritty. That wasn't sand. Oh, they set that up in this volume and I didn't notice it. But, I mean, how are they going to survive this? Ah, okay. God, the good old switcheroo. I mean, again, how is Erica supposed to process this? This is, oh boy. This is a big thing for a child to fully process. The person that you were truly in love with, the closest thing you had to a friend and a potential lover, tried to betray you, said a lot of very, very hurtful things to you, tried to kill you, and then was killed because of your plan, which was all set up by your kind of at this point father figure, sort of, maybe? Oh boy. I mean, I'm happy they all survived to an extent. I'm happy that Erica survived. I'm happy that that Muster wasn't killed like that. But I mean, where do we go from here? He's got immortality now, I guess. Or they have the disc of immortality. They don't necessarily have immortality yet. That's still fragile. That said, like, is this even hurting her? How strong is he? Is she just playing it up so that no one noticed, or that Erica specifically doesn't notice that, he's too weak to hurt her? God, spirits, demons of Mars, witness me. So many lords, thieves, sages, even my greatest enemy. How ardently they all sought this treasure, and now it is within my grasp. Oh my god. Okay, these two pages. These are definitely my I always have a quote at the like in the description of each of these. This has got to be it, right? If there's a better one in this volume, I'm going to lose my mind, but this is so good. Okay. I was not expecting another flashback. Oh, this is so weird. Like, it's so weird to see Muster as a kid. Like, he looks like a kid, but I guess he is like a young adult, but still. Then Erica's dad, not a drunk, still not too messed up. Like, a little, like he is smoking, but nothing too bad. Oh boy. Like, we knew that they used to work together, but it feels so eerie seeing it happen. I can understand that, though. Like, I was never like this. I've always been the kind of person who can sit down and just, study for a long time. But I know a lot of people who have, like, ADHD who just straight up cannot do this. Like, the moment they sit down, they immediately start thinking about all the other things they could be doing and what they want to accomplish, so much so they can't accomplish anything. Okay, so this is Kagura. Like, man, we are getting all the major figures then. So they had like direct contact. Is it maybe like a curse of the tomb that caused them both to start growing face tumors? It is also like it is very surprising to see that the first time he ever learned about it, it wasn't something that immediately captured him. It was Kagura that captured him. Also, the lips specifically. Like the only character I can think of that has like a lot of focus put on her lips is Alita. Like her big, like at times almost octopus-like lips have been such a core focus of the series, or not a core focus, but like it has been focused on quite a bit. So if they are related, like that's a very real possibility. Like, are they gonna mine with those, or are they gonna cause a cave-in, perhaps? Okay, so it was Erica's dad that like gave them the warning minutes before, or seconds before the explosion. Okay, so I assume those were dissidents then. So were the guards? I mean, I assume they were. I guess like they were the ones who brought in the explosives, but then maybe they weren't like working for her. Maybe they were swayed over by someone else because she was there too. There's no reason why they would have attacked and tried to kill her unless they were like anti-loyalists. No, but even then, like why would they try to silence them while Kagura was in there with them? Like, if it was planned out, it would have been as simple as asking her to, to run out real quick to use the bathroom or something. Yeah, she really fucked them over. Was she in there? I could have sworn she was in there. Oh, never mind, never mind. See, the way I saw this, I was thinking of it as I will return shortly, and then as she was walking out, the explosions happens. But no, I guess that could have been shown a bit better then. Like, we could have had a small panel of her like actually leaving, just to confirm that yes, she was not there when the explosives went off. But yeah, it now that I fully understand it, it does seem like it's all her idea. Yeah, oh boy, this feels like a mistake. This feels like a big ol' mistake. There's no way this is okay. We are honest in the right. If we speak truthfully, the police will understand and take our side. Nope, definitely not. I do appreciate that though, yeah. How could we have known what was about to happen to us? I can accept it. Like, yeah, if you are a good person and you believe in the law, you're going to assume that whatever the law does, it's going to be okay. Like, it's going to make sense. That it is going to be fair and balanced. Okay, so he had a relatively, like, yeah, this is a pretty cool way of going out. So that explains why it is that he ended up having to live in the slums and why he had to take such a low profile for the longest time. Like, as the years went on, he did get much, much worse. Like, he's not a good person by modern day. Like, especially by the time he had Erica. Like, nope, not a good person. But in this moment, at the very least, I can respect him as being like a cool dude. Or not a good plan, but it's good for what they've got. They're not in a good situation. All right, that's it. That's the end of Mars Chronicle Volume 4. My, oh my. I mean, I assume next volume's gonna have a little more flashback, and then we'll get to back to Erica's story. But then again, like I'm not sure where else we have to go from here. Like once Muster has the disc, he's got immortality. I mean, it depends on whether this is a different form of immortality than anything we've seen before, or if this is Methuselization. Because if it is Methuselization, then we know what happens. We know it. It's kept to the the upper echelons for a bit, then it gets leaked. It gets spread across the web. Everyone gets it, which is in its own way. Like it'd be a cool way to tie this into what we know of from Last Order. Like this is the story of how like immortality went from being this tiny little thing, basically a myth in a corner of Mars, to being widespread and being like so common in the world that it's not a benign problem, but it's just a normal problem. It's a thing people just have to deal with. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people. They're all immortal. It's fine. But yeah, good volume overall. The cover was still bleh, but at least it wasn't as bleh as I thought it was. Like, it did not feature Erica saving Yoko in the slightest. Not at all. Not even in a metaphorical way. So I'm actually very happy about that. Like, I'm not super into the idea of a cover that is lying, quote unquote, but I do appreciate when a cover subverts my expectations. And this was a good, like, it was good in that respect. Muster himself, great villain so far. I've loved him ever since the start. I love how on his face evil he is. And I appreciate that we're now getting the backstory, the thing that makes him a bit more sympathetic, while at the same time showing that, yes, in the present, you're not supposed to root for him. He is a bad guy. I guess the big question is just what is going on with Yoko? She definitely has a connection to Kagura somehow. The fact that Kagura and Custer were both like mutated, I assume that's the sweet smelling, like multicolored smoke. I assume that's what caused this to happen to them. Everyone else that was there could just be dead. Like there's the handmaid. What was her name? Policia? Like she could be dead. The rest of Custer's Muster's family, I assume, are dead. Like I assume that is what happens. They get gunned down, and then it's just Kagura and Muster that are mutated. That really just leaves Alita, and the fact that Alita's continued existence is a threat. It's a bother. It's something that Kagura does not want, and that the Duke is very much in favor of because he can use her to take the throne. So, like, what immediately comes to mind, especially with the lips, actually, that is weirdly enough the linchpin. The fact that she has those big, full lips that Muster kept on looking at. And the only other person we've had that really has those big, thick, full lips is Alita. Like, it makes me feel like they're related somehow. Like, the obvious answer would be like she's a clone. Because, I mean, that would fit the many, many, many splinters and copies and, in a less literal sense, foils to Alita we have throughout the entire world of the series. It would make sense if Alita is herself, from the very start. Even when it comes to her biological components, she's been a copy ever since the very start. There's the more traditional thing of, she's a child or something. But then, like, Kagura doesn't seem to have a husband at all that we've seen. So I think it could be as simple as she's a clone of Kagura. Now Kagura's like super duper mutated. She's not fit to rule. So Alita has, like because she is the most blood related you can possibly be to Kagura, being literally, the same blood as Kagura, she would be able to take the throne. But then we also had the Ethnarch, which I'm not totally sure what its purpose is then. The way it was described, look, this is the power you'll inherit. The Ethnarch of Sidonia, Odionbach. I guess I didn't type in Odionbach, just in case. I know Odion is a term, and I know Bach is a term. Let's not look at that top one. That's clearly part of Battle Angel Alita, like that's the wiki. Odion is the name of several ancient Greek Roman buildings built for music. I feel like I'm really chasing a loose end with that. But if I had to guess, this scene might just be like, you have the power to be the next Lady of Sidonia because of your heritage, and then this is just separately from your heritage. This is the power you'll inherit. It could be as simple as like if you are of this bloodline, you can power this. Like maybe it's not a cyborg of its own, but maybe it's like it's a shell that the current ruler, like the ruling family line, can tap into. But my gosh, we are so far away from what I assumed Mars Chronicle was about, which was Yoko and Erica becoming Kunzlers. Like, especially if Alita has the potential to become the ruler of Mars. Like, how did she go from that to being a Kunzler? Especially since, like, if the Kunzlers want to take over or like affect some grand change, it feels like it would make much more sense to have her just take the throne as opposed to something else. Like we don't know what the current we know of the current family line in the present. We also know that someone who looks a lot like Alita but who is most likely not Alita tried to assassinate the current line. So it feels like this is all coming down upon itself. Like it is going to all tie together. I just don't fully understand I can't see all the connective tissue. Overall, good volume. Very good volume. I guess that's all I really wanted to say is that this was a fantastic volume. All right, well, depending on whether I get a job next week, we'll see when the next reaction comes out. I really, really, really want to, I currently have up to Volume 4. I want to buy Volume 5 with the money that I have earned from a paycheck, because it's been a long time since I could do that. If I don't get the job, I'm going to wallow in my self-pity for a little bit, then I'll just buy Volume 5 and I'll read it anyways. But I can promise, if I get a job next week, I guess even then, like, it won't be money I get from a paycheck. It'll just be like a celebration of me getting a job. But yeah, if I get a job, Mars Chronicle will come out faster, and then all my other series will hopefully also come out a bit faster while I get settled into my job, and then from there, who knows how much time I'll have, but that's a problem for future Thermites. Anyways, thank you all so very much for watching. Bye for now. Nya nya.